Hi, and welcome to the Presenter Mastery Podcast. I'm Lucas, CEO of Headgain and amateur speaker.
And in this case and context, I am David J.P. Phillips, the expert speaker.
And together, we are your weekly guides to mastering powerful presentation skills. And today, Mr. David J. Phillips, we're going to do a little trip because you've been on a trip. And not just a trip, several. Over the past weeks, you've been traveling the world. You've been speaking mostly about your book, but you've also done trainings in some very exotic places. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be very interesting to hear you share parts of your journey and where you've been. I know we have on my list, I have Spain, I have Dubai, Kuwait, I have upcoming for England and Italy. You have done something more, I do believe.
These are the last, that would be the last 3 weeks, the countries.
Yep.
Do you know how many countries I have visited or gone to and done trainings, keynotes, and book promotion this spring?
Oh, no.
Give it a guess.
Give it a guess. 35.
This spring.
Yeah.
35 this spring. Countries. Fair enough. Your guess, Emil.
It feels like you're traveling each day, so yeah.
17. Well, I have done 28 journeys to countries, that is correct. But in unique countries, it's 16.
Okay.
Emil wins.
Oh, damn it.
So yeah, these are the last 5 now, before summer holidays, really.
Do you enjoy traveling?
I decide to enjoy traveling. Because if I didn't decide to enjoy traveling, I would hate traveling. Because it literally means you leave your home, you leave your family for extended periods of time, and doing that to that extent that I've been doing this spring, it would be really rough. So mindset-wise, I'm like, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? How can I appreciate this? How can I have fun in this? And that helps me enjoy it more.
I'm curious. I wanted to share what you've been doing in all of the countries, but it's also, I know you are the guy that buys the thinnest, most lightweight laptop with the smallest charger, with the smallest amount of things.
Yeah.
You optimize everything when you travel. And going from country to country, I mean, did you still just do hand luggage? How did you prepare everything? Like, what is your checklist? Do you pack yourself, or how does that work?
Yeah. Well, packing is, that requires skill, man, because I've only got one hand luggage and it's 10 kilos. And that has to last for 10 days. So how do you pack for interviews, for keynotes, for presentations, right? for casual, for gym?
Do you have two?
That's a different episode, man.
Is it 2 pairs of shoes? Just one?
Two pairs. Yeah, I do have 2 pairs.
Do you buy shoes when you land so you can give them to someone before leaving?
I have 2 pairs, but one of the pairs is sneakers, so I can use them at the gym and casually as well. So they're like double use, but they're also so nice sneakers so they can also be used on stage. So it's like 3 useful uses for those one pair of shoes.
Yes. And then you have the polished shoes, or what is the second pair?
Yeah, it's nicely polished shoes. Okay. Yes, cool. I was sitting in Dubai in the lounge, and I was working on my next book, and this guy just comes by and says, "Ooh, nice shoes. Can I polish them for you?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course." And he pops off, comes back 15 minutes later with polished shoes. I'm like, the lounges of the Dubai and the Middle East is very different from the lounges in Sweden. That service is not provided. I may also say that I was sitting in the lounge at the Moët lounge. So free champagne, polished shoes, writing on my book.
Rockstar life.
The lounges down there are just mad, really. Next level. It's a different universe, man.
Wow. Yeah. Your luggage is too small for me to fit in, so I'll just keep on following you on social.
Yeah. Well, it's everything has its, like, both sides. It's amazing. I love seeing new cultures. I'm very, very, very grateful because you are quite correct, Lucas. Yesterday I did the calculation of how many countries have I done trainings in, and the number came to 33. So I've been to 33 countries and done public speaking training. And if I'd include also online training of people in other countries, that would amount to 40. Which means that, that is I think there's very few trainers in the world who have gone and adapted to 40 different cultures and learned from 40 different countries and cultures. I'm very blessed by that.
Cool. How do you? Not sure if we're going to go on itinerary list here or my question list.
Wherever you want to go. What can we learn from this?
Yeah, but I'm curious. Since you're doing now, you have the two main topics. You're traveling and talking about your book, which is that is not as changeable from country to country, but your presentation skills training is, right? So how do you handle then when going into different cultures? What do you think about? What is your prep for going into a new culture? I mean, you've been to Kuwait recently. How is that presentation skill training different from you going to Denmark, where you were the week before?
Yeah. Well, I tend to use Google Trends to just go into the country and see what is trending this year or the last year. So I went to Spain, for instance, and just learned that from a training perspective, passion and love is way higher than it was when I went to Romania, for instance, or Poland. Okay, so I adapt the answers of my questions based on what I can see on Google Trends. So that's like the first thing. When it comes to interviews, because my book is obviously about self-leadership, and that can be anything from being more efficient as a person to being more passionate as a person to being more self-loving. Okay, but each country has a variation of interests, of course. And then if we have a look at, say, Kuwait is probably like the most extreme cultural difference of all the countries I've been to this spring. So what I literally did then is I went down on Google and I just read up on everything that I could find on Kuwait, more or less. Kuwait culture, Kuwait habits, communication, respect, just that kind of stuff. So I read up on that and got a lot of knowledge around that so that I felt more at ease when I went there. But I probably spent 3 hours reading up on the country and the culture, which is quite a lot of time for something like that. But it means a lot as well, because I often get the feedback that from wherever I go, it's like, thank you for being connected to what we do, and understanding and having examples of what we do and what is relatable to us. We met a lot of speakers international who don't do that, and they take it for granted that everything is similar.
So people come and just deliver their standard training, with no adaptation.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it's an important part for me. And then secondly, the second I step out of the airplane is I start observing people. Like I observe the people by the gate. I observe people at cafes. I observe people serving and so on, just to see how do they use eye contact. Do they use it the same way I do it, or do they fold down their eyes before, or how do they use their body language? Do they use gestures? Are they distinct? Are they non-distinct? How do they walk? And all of this is just programming my own brain and my own data to adapt my own training of the communication skills. I also tend to look at YouTube at speeches from company leaders, politicians, in this case, the Emir. So just gathering a lot of data. I spend a lot of time on that, but the analyzing part is what I really enjoy as well. And I think this helps us all, It's like just going in Sweden. Sweden is it takes us 30 hours to drive through the country from top to bottom, something like that, 30, 35. But if you go to the north or the south, crazy difference in body language, in use of words, in use of pace, in pauses. So if I were to go to the north and I hadn't been there before, I would probably spend again half an hour just listening in, adjusting, and then applying. If I'd go to the south, I'd do the same. So even countries can have quite a large difference in how they use voice and body language.
So you prepare what you can, and then you make the final adaptations based on your observations on site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I did that. Yeah. And then, and obviously Kuwait is quite different from our culture. So I felt when I did my training, there was so many, I guess, culture differences that I couldn't prepare an entirely different thing. So, for instance, swearing is very normal in Sweden, and nobody cares at all. There are some, but very, very few. But in Kuwait, there's way more respect when it comes to swearing, especially if you swear as an example to another person. And I have plenty of those examples in my training because I'm also British and we're built from sarcasm and irony, right? So combining swear words with irony and sarcasm, that's a bad recipe in this case. Also, if you've seen 110 Steps TED Talk, yeah. I end a particular example there by showing my hand, like, stop, don't learn. And each time I did these examples, about 20% in, I realize I can't end it the way that I usually end it, because that's pointing a finger at an individual, telling them to F off, and that is not okay, right? So I had to remove that. And then we came to a really tricky one. And that is regarding nakedness. Okay. And I have a story about truth and story. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story. 2 girls, most beautiful in the world. But it ends with... It's a beautiful story. It's highly moral. It is truly wise, but it includes nakedness with women. And that I realized when I'm 20% into that story, I don't have a punchline anymore. There is no punchline because I can't give the punchline. So during the rest of the story, I was adapting it so that it would still make sense to them and still give that moral effect. It wasn't as good as the original, but I find that so interesting. Whenever you're challenged by a problem like that, you go like, oh, my PowerPoint broke down, so I just have to use flip chart. Oh, I couldn't tell the story as it was. It is through the mistakes that we learn and we grow. And that is my material. It has always grown out of my mistakes and cumbersome situations like this. So yeah, it was a truly brilliant. It was like one of the best cultural experiences I've had going to a different country. They were so nice, these people. They were so inviting. We were walking in the evening by the shops, and a total of 6 people approached me, and they just jumped up, shook my hand, looked in my eyes, and were like, "Wow, it's so good to have you here. Where do you come from?" I'm like, "From Sweden." "Oh, well, welcome to Kuwait. Just brilliant. I hope that you're enjoying yourself, See to it that you try this, do that. And I'm like, wow, that has never happened to me in Sweden, ever. No, nor any other country, I think. And they just jump out at you like that. And 3 of them went like, "Which football team do you play for?" I'm like, "I don't play." The first one I thought was weird. Because where did that come from? Yeah. Second one, when it happened, wow. And then the third one. And then I had asked my friend, my Kuwaiti friend who I was out with and walking. I said, "Why?" And he said, like, they watch a lot of Premier League football. You look like a player. Like, you look at the people who play football in the Premier League. And I'm like, fair enough. I should just start signing things, whatever.
Yeah, of course. David Phillips, haven't you heard of me?
Yeah. And then we went into the mosque, and that was, wow, what a powerful experience. Besides the mosque being by far the most beautiful, I think, building I've ever been in. It was just massive and so beautifully decorated. I also had the opportunity of being part of the mass, the evening prayer. And I was there, and about 500-600 people were doing their prayers. And you have an imam, and he is the person who leads the prayer, speaking into a microphone. And I was sitting at the back just watching, but I was pulled in by the energy. I don't understand Arabic, but just by the way that the words were pronounced, and the passion and the power of that was so incredibly powerful that I was sitting at the far end and I was feeling part of it somehow. It was incredible what that kind of communication can do, you know. And I asked him off, you know, what was the prayer about? And it was about gratefulness. And that was just such a really amazing experience, truly. You know, when we do our training on how to avoid death by video conference, we refer to a study which connects bad microphone quality to your personality traits. So the better microphone quality you have, the better your personality traits are seen or perceived. Which is, it's crazy when you think about it, that people still use like their computers and the microphones in there and shitty microphones because your personality will get hammering by that. And what I was going to come to was in the Imam, when he spoke and the microphone, the sound quality in the room was IMAX. And it just reminded me how important it is that we have good microphones for this podcast, and how important it is that you use it for video conferences and so on. Sound quality really travels in such a different ways, gives us such a different impact. Yeah, wow, what an experience in Kuwait, man.
Wow.
Damn.
It's I like how I mean, a thing that I'm thinking of is when you needed to change your story mid and realizing it's not going to work. It also shows the importance of what we teach in our program, where we actually practice. You need to practice. It's when we do a PowerPoint karaoke. Like it's for fun, but it's also for you to practice for unknown sessions. Where when you actually need to change something, it's going to be way easier when you have practiced.
Absolutely.
The story exercise that we do, when you throw in an object and you have to just bounce off of that object, include it in the story, and then a new object comes, and then a new object comes. So it's it just to be on this level that you are, to just in the moment realize, shit, I need to change direction, and just being able to lean back on that experience and that know-how. It must have felt really good.
Yeah, it feels amazing, of course, but it also comes down to what we've said so over and over and over again. Slow pace, loads of pauses. So you could literally hear me going down into 50% less pace when I realize that I don't have punchline, because I needed to allow my brain to think and come up with a version that could work. So again, that is so important to give yourself that opportunity.
I'm curious, was it presentation skills training that you were doing in Kuwait? Yes. And how was that then different to, you were in Dubai, that must have been similar experiences?
Well, not really. I say the Dubai one was a lot of people living in Dubai, but they'd come from abroad. So about 50% of them were 40% born in Dubai, work in Dubai, 60 were not. So it became a fairly generic one. But I'd say that, and it also depends on which countries or companies you work with in Dubai, because there's a lot of international companies in Dubai. So it's a little bit more generic than Kuwait. I'd say that's the learning I brought with me. I'm going down again to Dubai in September, I think, to do another training. I'll keep on learning from these cultures and as well, and adapting to it. But at the end of the day, when I go to all of these 30, 40 countries that I've been to, do you know what's amazing and interesting? That is that the 110 steps, they just keep on applying. There is no difference when you look at how people use them. There are, like we have amplifying head movement, which is different in India. They use a different amplifying head movement than I do, for instance. So there is a difference, but the skill itself is still there and useful. So it's just keeps on applying, loving that model. I can bring it up wherever and it's applicable. Wow. Yeah.
Fun. last on the list, you were also in Spain, and I know you had the craziest experience of a hot seat, where you had, what do you say? You had moving cameras. You had.
Yeah, that was. I should have known really, but it was. We did 2 days. We had 15 interviews with different kinds of media and journalists, and then we had one session in the evening. I read up on it. I realized it was bigger than the other bits, but this thing was crazy. We walked in there. This was this massive dark room with spotlights on one stage, on one circle, in the middle of this massive room. On this one single circle, there was one single chair. And in this one single chair, I was to sit down. And all around the entire wall were seats of where people would come in. So when the time came, people came in, sat down, and they were all Spanish speaking. So it was quite a setup where I had a microphone on my chest, which picked up my English. That was sent to one translator, which translated into Spanish into a headset that the audience was wearing.
Wow.
And then they had a microphone, which was sent to another translator, which translated that to English for me. So I was speaking English, they were speaking Spanish, and we had 2 translators real time translating what we were saying. And yeah, I sat there for close to 2 hours, just getting questions from the audience, answering them and to them. And it was a phenomenal experience. And I can truly say that it would have completely failed if I hadn't used highly clear body language. So my body language truly came into this, showing variations. I could so see how I got their attention, and I could see how they kind of understood what was being said when using the body language and just not the voice. So that was very powerful to combine those in a way that has been more powerful then than before in my life. But it was great, and it's going to be published I think that one's coming out in June in Spain, and they can get close to like 1, 2 million, 3 million views on these sessions when they publish them. So it's quite a big thing.
Yeah.
Don't remember the name of it at the moment.
No. I'm curious, did that your Google trending before, where you talked about passion and love being on the higher end of the topics?
Yeah.
Was that also evident in the questions that you got during the hot seat?
Yes. Yeah. They were more toned in that direction. Yeah. So quite interesting. Truly, yes.
Yeah. Cool.
So I'm going to Italy soon now then. The next country is England, then Italy.
Yeah.
I'll probably be using food references.
Well, for Italy and for England, what is the trend currently?
the trending current. Well, I'm going there. Is it next Thursday?
Yeah.
I've been on the road this is my first landing here. So I'm just.
Oh, you haven't been Google trending?
No, I'm just gonna take it easy this weekend, and then Monday then I'll read up on Italy and England.
Cool. All right. Well,
you really need to read up on Italy and England?
Nah, that's true, Emil. Maybe not England. I've been there. I think this is the 6th time this year. So yeah, definitely, I probably don't need to read up.
I know you made a post about you always trying candy where you're going.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, on a story on Instagram.
Yes, you did. I was just curious. What has been the best candy this year?
One of my vices, but I find that interesting to buy wherever I go to any of these countries. I go to a supermarket and I buy candy, snacks, and sodas. I don't usually eat that, but I enjoy trying the variations that I've never tried before. Let's see. Okay, so the question was, what was the best thing? Well, on this journey, it was dates. Like the dates we have in Sweden, they're not dates. I don't know what they are, but they are not dates.
Yeah, no,
the dates
traveled far
in Kuwait. That's dates. You have like 25 different kinds of dates. So do you want that one? Softy, squishy, meaty, whatever, but they were all originals. And in Sweden, you know what they do with our dates? Because they're so sad and so boring, our dates. They dip them in candy flavors. So I was thinking, wonder what happens when I go to Kuwait the next time and I bring my candy-flavored dates to them.
Ooh.
I think I won't be let out of the country again. That must
Not allowed.
I think that's an insult to the date.
Yeah. Well, luckily you only do carry-on, and you probably won't be able to get that through the customs. So it's all good.
Well, dates. I brought them back to Sweden. I googled, and it was okay. So you are allowed to bring dates.
Right.
It was one of those exceptions.
All right.
Is dates.
Dadlar.
Dates.
Emil's been sitting here. How many dates were you on? Chunky dates.
He was just. He was like, "Is this Tinder? What do your dates look like?"
Dip your date in candy. That's funny.
They're very hard to describe. They're like brownish, about 4 centimeters, about an inch and a half, squishy. I don't know how to explain. There's a little bit of a stone in it.
Yeah,
in the middle.
It's a little fruit.
Popular in the Middle East.
It's very
Definitely.
sweet fruit. It's a fruit. It's
It's
fruit.
a
It
fruit?
comes from the tree. Now, now I'm just guessing here. I
That's
don't know.
true. Yes, berries have loads of small seeds in it. That's the definition of it. That's why strawberry is a berry.
Oh, yes, and a banana apparently.
Yeah, and a banana is a berry. And maybe the definition of fruit is simply that it has like a stone in it.
Perhaps. I wouldn't go into. I'm not.
I don't know either. Maybe
But let's go with it.
Maybe Seb can get back to us on
yeah.
this.
Yeah. All right. So based on traveling,
Yes.
what would be the skill of the week for traveling?
Skill of the week.
You didn't sing it.
I didn't sing it. Skill of the week for traveling by David J. Phillips.
All right, skill 23.
Oof, number 23.
Why I picked this one was because I got a question about it in Kuwait. I was like, wow, what is 23? No, they said, how do you use skill 23? Vocal fry.
Ooh.
And I said, well, it's got to do a lot with association. Who uses vocal fry? Who uses it? And we had a think, and it's obviously people in movies and TV shows. When they go into the level of super coolness, they tend to use vocal fry. So bad guys, the cowboys, the people who are in power, mafia bosses, stuff like that, they tend to go like this. They speak like they've drank too much whiskey, a bit too much cigars. They speak with that vocal fry at the end. And this just gives you the impression that you know exactly what you're talking about. There is no doubt. I'm challenging you. Right, so vocal fry. And then somebody said, oh, have you seen the Miley Cyrus video with the dog? I'm like, I have not seen the Miley Cyrus with the dog. All right, well, you got to see it. It was like this super trending thing. There's loads of videos on Miley Cyrus. I'm like, what? Why? But she has this constant vocal fry, not constant, but fairly often she uses vocal fry, but also with a high volume, which doesn't really make sense. You know, vocal fry is usually with a lower volume. But then he showed me this clip of her speaking, and she goes like this, and then it's edited in, and there's a pit bull, and the pit bull is, and there are so many memes on this that I've entirely missed. Entirely missed. Yeah. So if you want to remember vocal fry, create a visualization or look at a visualization, have a look at the meme, and you'll forever remember what a vocal fry is. Yeah, because it's such a different one. All right. Skill of the week.
We should mention that I don't think Miley Cyrus has a vocal fry because she wants to.
No.
I just think that's her voice from smoking a lot in her teenage or after the... Yeah, that's what I've heard at least.
Okay, so Emil
Talking about
has pretty sound evidence that he's heard that the reason she has a deep vocal fry is because she smoked a lot. That could be true. That could be true. It seems like people who smoke a lot and drink whiskey have vocal fries, but it could just be that people who were born with vocal fry tend to smoke more and drink more whiskey.
Well, it would definitely, if you're drinking a lot and smoking a lot, it will definitely make it worse at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes out when you don't exhale fast enough. So if anyone anywhere on the planet, if you don't have a large amount of volume of air coming out, your vocal cords will do that little fry. So it's about the amount of air coming out, because as soon as you increase the amount of air, it stops.
Yeah.
And you reduce the amount of air, it begins.
Now we will only go around frying for the rest of the day.
So yes, I assume people that have smoked may have lesser of a lung capacity or something like that. And it's not as natural to them to produce as much air. I am just guessing, man. I'm guessing. I don't know where it comes from. Yeah. I just know that by association, it's cool.
Nice.
You got me.
All right, thank you, David. Skill of the week. All right, that wraps this episode up. Thank you so much for listening. If you've enjoyed this episode and want to listen to more, we would be very grateful if you go into your podcast player and give us a 5-star review. That helps this podcast. It helps us reach more people. And if you want to leave a comment, go on to our YouTube channel. We read everything on YouTube, so please go on. And if you like this, if you have topics that you want to hear about, go on to YouTube and search for Presenter Mastery. You'll find all of the podcasts in full, in live. You'll see me talking to the camera now, and if you're listening to the podcast, you'll only hear my voice. So that would be the difference. Yes. And if you are interested in learning more about presentation skills and want to learn more, go to presentermastery.com. Look at our free training that we have there, and just reach out to us if you want our help. We'll be happy to help. That's it.
Cheerio.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.